Hi everybody, I'm Doug and I am making this video because there's several people that would like to know, how do I approach people? It seems hard to do. It's probably the number one thing that stops people from continuing in this. So I want to lower the barrier as much as possible and talk to you about how you can increase the number of people that will allow you to pray for them and decrease the amount of rejections, because I have a computer background. I'm very much about numbers and very scientific, and so I like to experiment with different approaches, and I've taken a little bit from different people that like Thomas Fisher and my friend Tom Loud and Peter Allman, and so I've looked at a lot of their different approaches and tried these things on the streets, since you'll have to try to see what works for you. But I wanted to share with you what I do and see if it helps you out. So there's really two different scenarios I use. One is if I'm approaching a complete stranger and I'm trying to shoot a video so that I include a video. So that scenario, it's a very simple approach. I'd say, "Hi, I'm Doug, and this is so-and-so," if I have a person with me, and I'll say, "We're doing something really unique today." And the person will usually say, if you pause, they'll say, "Oh, what's that?" And say, "We're actually shooting a video on how to heal the sick. So I'm looking for somebody with pain in their back or neck or legs. Do you have pain in your body?" And often, as you're saying back, neck, or legs, one of those things, and often I'll point to it, I'll say, back, neck, legs. And often when I point to it, you'll see in their eyes if they have pain. And so you can really kind of fish it out, even if they don't want to quite admit to it at first. If they have even a kind of hesitation, I'll say, "Oh, that's you." And they'll go, "Oh, yeah, I've had this back." And right away I go into sympathetic mode, and I'm like, "Oh man, is it really bad?" And they're like, "Oh, I've had this for like 5 years and it's so bad." And I'm like, "Well, like if 10 is the worst pain level, what would you say your pain is?" And they'll say, "Oh, it's an 8 or whatever." And then, of course, then I'll say, "Hey, do you mind if I catch this on a camera?" And I remember when I first started the approach, I already told them I'm shooting a video. So they don't freak out at this point usually. And most people say, "Yeah, go ahead." And some don't. We say, "Okay, we don't need the video. We go ahead and pray." And then, of course, if they say yes, I pull up the video and I say, "Hi, I'm Doug, and this is so-and-so, and we're here with so-and-so," and you've seen it on the videos from there on out. So that's how that approach works. I do the same exact thing all the time, pretty much for the approach. I don't change it at all. It's the same approach all the time, whether or not I'm at a mall or I'm out handing out food. Now, there's also, so if I'm at a mall, I've discovered that probably out of 10 people I approach, 2 or 3 will agree will admit to having pain and agree to be filmed. If I do the same thing out, when you see in a lot of my videos, I'm actually out with a truck and we're handing out food. In that scenario, I would say that more like 6 out of 10 people will say they have pain and allow us to shoot the video. So if you've got a scenario where you can partner up with some kind of ministry in your city that's giving food out to people or whatever that have a need, coming along and also praying for people is a real natural fit. It's great. I always tell people this is like the best of both worlds. I get to help distribute food to people who need it, and I get to pray for the sick. So it's a double win. It's a no-brainer. And for those of you that know Pete Cabrera, he started out in a soup kitchen, same kind of thing. So, it's always good to be not just focusing on healing, but also helping people in practical and realistic ways. And so that's that. Now, part 2. So let's say I'm out just living my regular life, and I see somebody who obviously needs prayer. So what I'll do is, make some, like, notice that they have whatever they have. Let me use the scenario. So we were out just the other day, and I was walking into Walmart, and I saw this lady who was walking with a cane, just inching along in obvious pain. So I looked at her and I said, you know, we made eye contact. She could see that I could see she was in pain and so on. And I said, and this is my line. Now, it's secret. Everybody I've told this to, it's a huge difference. Here it is. Okay. I said, and I always say this, would you be offended if I prayed for that? If I prayed for you? Would you be offended if I prayed for you? So that adding that offended in there makes all the difference. One, people understand now that you've considered the fact that they have a life and consider that they have feelings and maybe they could be offended. But two, nobody wants to say, oh, I'm closed-minded. Everybody wants to be open. So what they say is, oh, no, I wouldn't be offended. And I say, oh, great. Okay, let's pray then. And boom, I'm into the prayer. I'm praying. And in that case, I prayed for her. She was late for a taxi. The taxi pulls up, and she stood there for 10, 15 seconds anyway. And then she looked up at me and she said, what did you do to me? And she was just completely in shock. And of course, I don't have it on video because that was just part of my daily life. And anyway, so she was completely healed and got in the taxi and wanted to know who I was. I just said, we're Windsor on Fire, look us up. Probably she never will, I don't know. But an amazing seed was planted that day. And, you know, you can just incorporate that into your daily life. That whole miracle took maybe 25 seconds, 10 seconds to pray, a 5-second intro, 10 seconds to pray, and 10 seconds for her to react and so on. And so, you know, your encounters can be 30 seconds and you can change somebody's life. So that's awesome. There's one other approach. There's a third approach that I've been seeing Peter Allman doing. He's, if you don't know him, the Last Reformation in Sweden. You definitely should look him up. He's got some amazing videos online. Anyway, his approach is he doesn't even tell them that he's going to pray or it's God or anything, I don't think. He just puts his hand on them, and I don't know if he prays or not, but he just puts his hand on them and says, pain, go, or be healed. And then immediately they are healed, and then they want to know what it's about, and then he explains that was Jesus. So that's another approach. If you, I've tried that approach, to be honest with you, a little bit, but I found that the tail end doesn't go so well because I wasn't upfront about what I was doing. So once I want to start talking about Jesus and so on, I get a lot of shut down at that point. So I found it much better to say upfront what I'm doing. I'm shooting a video on how to heal the sick. I'm looking for people with pain in their body, and I found that approach is way, way better. So just for me. And Peter's got an awesome ministry, and he's doing great too with what he's doing. Everybody's got their little thing, but I wanted to include Peter's approach because that might be the thing that works perfect for you. So, so yeah, those are 3 approaches that you can use on the streets. Works fantastic for me. And feel free to comment and tell me what you've tried. I'd love to hear if somebody else has a different approach that I could incorporate. God bless, and yeah, just keep going. Disciples making disciples.